This is Isaiah's moment, this is Tord's moment, and great storylines for both of these players.
You just look at those accomplishments there. Tord with champion next to all of them, Isaiah with finalist. And I think that really summarizes what we're looking at here. And I think one thing that's fair to note is both players comfortable on the stage. So that's not going to be a factor here. They're both going to be going out there playing their best. And we're really in for a treat with the quality of play, the quality of decks. You know, to get to this stage through such a tough, grueling tournament, they've certainly earned the right to be there.
100%. It looks like I may have stolen Isaiah's pose there for some photos earlier as well. So taking inspiration where I can. But yes, as mentioned just there, it is the final step. Can he overcome one final hurdle to call himself a champion, and not just any champion, an international champion for this season?
Well, a little bit of a moment here, just to breathe before the final starts. Can Tord make it a quintuple? Rarely a word we get to say about champions here, but so often we see him in the final, in those top 8s, especially when it comes to new formats where the new cards come about and a different idea can be made. Tord will be showing us exactly why his Charizard EX list is the most optimal way to play it right here. And it looks like they're just setting out those prize cards as we begin here. London, are you ready for your grand finals?
Let's take a look at these prizes, Mike. We've got that puppet offering, Burnett there, an opportunity to recycle some of those supporters. But other than that, nothing too crazy from both sides, and that's what's key in this matchup. Hopefully it means we get a good game coming.
Yeah, the Manaphy, when you're worried about a Greninja, would certainly be concerning in the prize cards, but no water energy on the other side, so feeling pretty safe.
And that rare candy, I mean, we're not up against William this time, Tord, so nothing to worry about from a TM Devolution perspective.
It's going to be those Iron Leaves, the X attacks, the Giratina V-Star with that Star Requiem to take down those Charizard EX. With the backup support of the Barrel engine, Tord doesn't even need to use that Pidgeot EX. As they get started, the handshake, the basic reveal, and it will be Isaiah to kick things off.
Game 1 of this TCG Masters European International Championships final here. Shuppet up against that Charmander.
Yeah, and that Shuppet can be useful early on. A great little attack to just reduce the damage, but that's not what you want to see. Just an attached pass for Isaiah.
Not a great start. When you're going first, you do want to start ramping up some of those Lost Zone cards into that area as soon as possible. Tord won't be attacking anytime soon, though, so a little reprieve there for Isaiah, just for the moment at least, as we do kick things off with a Luminion V, that Lumineous Sign ability, a well-known staple in a lot of Tord's decks, being able to grab a supporter of your choice from your deck, an opportunity as well to just double-check those prizes.
Yeah, you see bringing that Cleffer to the front, that grasping draw, a lovely little addition from some of our most successful Charizard EX players, a way to almost replicate the Rotom V instant charge using a card that is possible to search for with Buddy Buddy Poffin. And the Arven off the Luminous Sign to get a Buddy Buddy Poffin and a Forest Seal Stone, a typical beginning here for Charizard, where for Isaiah that is far from optimal.
Yeah, that Forest Seal Stone, Star Alchemy, a fantastic ability that can be applied to your V Pokemon. Just gives a quick search ability nice and early as an option. Or if it's not necessarily needed to begin with, maybe you can grab it mid to late turn as well. Fantastic utility in a lot of these setup decks.
It must be nerve-wracking right now for Isaiah. He's just flipped over the basic attach and is watching towards setup pretty much perfectly here. And we'll just be thinking about his top deck, what's in his hand, what's available, can he stabilize? Lost Zone Giratina has historically been one of those decks that can be a bit slow at starting, but as we saw earlier on in the juniors final, you know, the Lost Zone engine can get those early attacks off with Cramorant. It can go either way depending on how those early flower selectings go, but just gonna have to watch and wait and see what else Tord can do to set up that board for future turns.
As we've already sort of highlighted there, we're likely to see that Cleffer come into the active. It is a great pivot option as well, has free retreat, only 30 HP, so it can go down to something quite easy like a Sableye. But we do see the energy attachment, retreat cost, and the grasping draw Cleffer in the active spot now. Has Tord played down his hand pretty low? He's got 4 in hand, potentially goes down to 3 with that attachment of the Defiance Band and the Cleffer as well.
And just
the Lost Vacuum.
get as many cards off that grasping draw as possible.
Love the value there by Tord Reklev, being as consistent as possible. A draw 6 from that grasping draw, and back over to Isaiah.
Well, anyone who put that Cleffer away into your binders, make sure you can remember which page it's on, because it is a very powerful card right now. That free retreat, an underrated aspect of many of those support cards. We saw Dunsparce have its moment.
Yeah, we did.
I think just having a free retreat as well as a great early game effect can be so key, and that's the starting hand.
Tough.
Do you put the Iron Leaves down just to have something that can survive?
Rapid Vernier, usually a fantastic ability to bring energies around your board, to be able to just start swinging away with that Prism Edge attack. It's just a Jet Energy attachment here. Advantage Tord just from that scenario, and we're looking at Tord's hand now. So many options, plethora of choices, Rare Candy, Ultra Ball, Charizard EX. Iono, he's not going to be playing anytime soon, I'm sure.
Well, if you've just tuned in and you're not aware of the A-Spec choice in Tord's deck, he does play Prime Catcher, where if there was the maximum belt, which has been chosen by the majority of Charizard EX players at this event, would have been able to get the knockout here on the Iron Leaves, but I do believe it's going to be safe here, and that's probably a little bit of a breather moment for Isaiah, as he's going to look to see what the top deck available is. Oh, the Rare Candy into the Pidgeot, just stabilizing that board for Tord. Everything in his control now, and Isaiah is just relying completely on the top deck going forward.
Yeah, it can't feel great right now, just staring down at Tord, effectively being able to select on this turn, if he wanted to do so, any 2 guards, because he has access to that quick search, which he's utilizing now, gets that Bidoof down as well as a bit of a fail-safe if that Pidgeot ever goes down.
You can see prepping those 3 energy at the front as well, as he's going to look to potentially evolve the Charizard here. There we go. Charizard EX down.
Who needs anything else? This is exactly what you want on your second turn. 2 energies going on that Pidgeot EX as an option as well. Obviously, he doesn't want to necessarily put forward the Charizard EX because it does have that grass weakness, and with it's not currently being able to knock out the Iron Leaves EX with its Burning Darkness attack. If we could just start softening up with Blustery Wind to begin with, then we can, I'm sure, see 2 prizes taken very soon.
Well, who would have thought the first attack of our Charizard EX versus Losso Giratina would be a Blustery Wind into an Iron Leaves. But this is how it goes. Sometimes the cards don't fall, and that was the grass energy off the top. So if he had attacked with that Charizard EX, it would have been the return knockout. But now Isaiah has to work out how to stabilize around the change of plan from Tord, just recognizing that a grass energy could be possible here and using the Pidgeot EX safe from that instant return knockout.
Turn 3, and we still haven't been able to get any Lost Zone cards into play at the moment, and it's just a Prism Edge attack, 180 damage that will be dealt to that Pidgeot EX, safe from being taken as a KO, hits the Iono off the top, but let's face it, we're not going to see that anytime soon. Opportunity also to try and find that with Barrel if necessary, but Quick Search being utilized first.
Find anything you want. Quick Search plus Bibarel, so stable. And, you know, people were discussing, do I go for the Bibarel version of Charizard? Do I go for the Pidgeot? Tord said both. And now he's sat here in the final with a very consistent deck, opposing Isaiah, who's been consistent throughout and just started so poorly here. I mean, best of 3. We'll be thinking ahead, potentially about future turns, but just trying to find a way to squeak out of this early frustration.
Play out every opportunity you can for the time being. We do have additional time for the top cuts, especially this Masters final as well. So being able to just play to every one of your small percentages that are available to you, that's what Isaiah has to do for the time being. Before even thinking about it, we do see the pop of the Star Alchemy now as well. Another fantastic utility just to grab any card Tord would like from his deck, as it looks like he's targeting that Professor Churro scenario as a fantastic way to kind of just eliminate that turn.
Could go for Collapsed, but with the Professor Churro scenario, we'll be able to reuse that Luminion on future turns and keep that bench space nice and wide, so if it wants to set up future attackers.
Yeah, can protect that Pidgeot EX as well, and also gets those energies off the Pidgeot, because it does have free retreat, so there's no ways to kind of very easily remove it from the actual Pidgeot EX itself without using Professor Churro's scenario, and then that way could be super rodded back into the deck. And and just kind of start recycling some of those energies that are ever so important when you're running quite a low number.
Yeah, a lot of people get very concerned about leaving something like Luminion V or Rotom V on the bench. When you're in this position, you're very comfortable, you can remove it. But a lot of the time for Charizard EX, it just increases that damage output, and so it can be worth just using the Luminion V as a target for your opponent, as they won't remove your Pidgeot EX or your Charizard, which you want to keep in play.
As we do see the retreat now from that Pidgeot EX, free retreat, such a fantastic pivot option. That Burning Darkness will be taking the KO on that Iron Leaves EX, leaving us there with just a Shuppet. What is that top deck?
Chorus Experiment, that's sort of what you needed a bit earlier, but it might help you get going now. Still a long way to come back here.
Just keeping him in the game at this point. Every little card that he can identify. Plenty of ball search. There's the Giratina V as well. Knowing it is still out of range of an easy one-hit KO, for the time being at least.
It's been nice to see those a bit earlier on, I'm sure is the thought here. There is the Forest Seal Stone. An interesting inclusion to add to Giratina V-Star when it has such a powerful V-Star attack itself.
Yeah, for different matchups maybe, because of that inclusion of the Burnett EX and Burnett lines. Maybe sometimes it's more important just to be able to either get into the game, add that additional consistency. Doesn't maybe need the one-hit KO potential, utilizing Star Requiem. So let's just utilize something like Star Alchemy to really get myself into the game. And if only he had grabbed or was able to get a V Pokemon down earlier, could have used that to just get into the game and maybe swing this around.
Well, Tord set up completely, taking a knockout, sitting there with everything on board ready to keep going. Meanwhile, Isaiah taking those first looks through the deck to try and set things up here. It's not often you see this, but you know, it can happen at any moment. And that's why we play best of 3, to give those players the chance when it does go a little bit wrong to come back into a future game. But right now, Isaiah does have a way to get back into the game with that ability to take big knockouts. There's just too much consistency on the board for Tord with the Bibarel and the Pidgeot EX to maybe confirm that. But with that early damage on the Pidgeot EX, it is in range of some of those single prize attackers.
Yeah, I mean, just having to now try and get into those Lost Zone counters ramped up to at least a 7 to begin with, start utilizing things like the Mirage Gate. That Shuppet and the active can evolve to the Burnett with that Puppet offering, can start to help to burst into that Lost Zone thresholds, as it were, because to hit the Star Requiem, you will need that 10 in the Lost Zone as well. And of course, that Pidgeot EX still susceptible to potential attack, maybe something like the Lost Mine Sableye further down the line, as we do see a Star Alchemy being utilized from Isaiah's side as well, just trying to make sure he can get into the game right now. Remember, plenty of time on the board.
Well, Star Requiem no longer possible this game, but with that Iron Leaves, you can take those knockouts, the one-hit knockouts with that attacker, and with the Pidgeot EX available, that could be a way to take 2 prizes at some point. You know, you've got the Cleffer on board, so there's lots of options for things like Sableye down the line, and that'll be the key journey Isaiah's taking now to try and build that loss count up to 10.
The only worrying thing here, of course, Tord, currently 2 prizes up in this matchup due to Isaiah's slow start. Can go down to 3. Tord has to be wary of that, because then you're within range of that awful, awful card, Roxanne.
You say that. When you've got a Bibarel and a Pidgeot EX in play, I feel like Roxanne doesn't have the same effect as it can do. We've seen Roxanne win so many games throughout the weekend, just that turn where it switches it from one side to the other. In fact, in Tord's semi-final, it felt like Roxanne was the win condition for both players, so whoever went ahead was often the one who ended up losing due to that Roxanne effect. But on this occasion, just going to be putting that Giratina into the active, and a great way to start building up that loss count a little bit quicker using that Abyss Seeking.
Yep, look at the top 4 cards of your deck. Choose 2 to put into your hand. The other 2 do hit that Lost Zone there. So we'll be heading to the 4 threshold, giving the opportunity for that Cramorant to be available and live to attack. Lost Provision's a fantastic ability for him not to be able to, well, for him to be able to use Spit Innocently quite soon.
Well, we heard their previous match. It was described as being a little bit scuffed due to not finding a Psychic Energy. I think on the scale of scuffedness, Isaiah would certainly be putting this quite up there, but is starting to find a way back in, and that's the key. Has got a great comeback potential as a deck, and so we'll begin to try and do that, while Tord's damage output is a little bit lower with that Burning Darkness. So Ultra Ball now for Tord, thinning out that deck of cards you don't need and finding those cards you do need. And one great card there, the Charmeleon, that probably wanted to be featured a little bit more in the semi-final with the TM Devolution,
Yep.
but has a great utility as a way to get that Charizard into play.
Yeah, sometimes now, not necessary to always utilize something like that Jirachi in decks, but it has its own self-protection from effects of attacks with that Flare Veil ability. Fantastic inclusion in a lot of decks, and just gives towards a bit of contingency should this Charizard EX ever go down in a crazy world where maybe there's a knockout here from Isaiah, and then it's just finding that Charizard EX piece to then just continue chaining into attacks.
Yeah, we saw that a little bit where the Roxanne would be asking, does a Pidgeot EX have one of two pieces? But on this occasion, you'd only need the one, and that would be the Charizard EX. But an INO to be played by Tord, just to try and disrupt that larger hand Isaiah was building up. All the cards selected off of the Colrus and the Abyss Seeking, you know they're going to be better cards than the ones that were in the Lost Zone, and some pretty good cards went into the Lost Zone there. So Tord recognizing the value of that hand and wanting to get rid of it.
Yep, and now heading straight to the bottom of the deck, of course. So getting them as far away from Isaiah's hand as possible. Not too sure what else Isaiah could be drawing into there as Tord continues drawing up with Barrel's Industrious Incisors first, and then utilizing that fantastic quick search ability from that Pidgeot EX, tutoring any card he wishes from the deck, as he's just eyeing up once again another Iono to continue causing a little bit of disruption for Isaiah side of the board, because he doesn't have to worry about anything when he can continuously draw.
I mean, the collapsed stadium is still in play as well, and that's reducing the amount of options for Isaiah to put down basics in the future. Might try and find a way to remove that so he can go wide with those flower selecting. It's still only 4 in the Lost Zone. You know, typically at this stage of the game, you'd be having Mirage Gates online, you'd be having potential to get to that 10 in the Lost Zone to start using either Star Requiem or Sableye, but still at 4, and that was not ideal. So just an attack, 180 damage into the active Giratina V. We'll set it up for a future 2-hit knockout. For now, Isaiah having to see what's in that hand off of the Iono and whether that increased Lost Zone count can happen this turn.
Looked like a Stadium Bounce was in hand as well, so continue going a little bit wider with those comfates if required. You know, hasn't given up the prize here as we kick things off with a Chorus Experiment that will push Isaiah up to 6. A couple more, and then maybe utilizing that Public Offering could get him to that 10. And on the next turn, I'm sure it's going to be very vital to maybe start thinking about targeting down alongside of Roxanne that the Barrel or the Pidgeot that is currently in play, because it's been weakened and softened up already. But let's see going forward whether that's going to be an option for him.
Well, for now, you see that Chorus Experiment, that'll put 2 more in the Lost Zone. With 1 flower selecting, that would be enough. The Puppet Offering Banette was in the prize cards as well, so that would have been a nice way to increase the Lost Zone count. The Radiant Greninja there. Now, that's an interesting card that you could often see being an attacker in Giratina, but the way Isaiah's built his deck, it's just here for that consistency.
Yeah, you've mentioned it before, when a card's included for its fantastic attack and still utilized without the energies that allows it to be able to do so, you know just how strong that card is. There's always been a bit of a small debate. Generally, Greninja's kind of won, but there's 2 fantastic Radiant Pokemon in both of these players' decks. Radiant Charizard in Tord's deck, of course, as a fantastic single prize attacker, and that Radiant Greninja allowing just to give a consistency option, just to be able to draw cards with concealed cards where you discard 1 energy of your choice into your discard, you get to draw 2 cards.
Allows you to build up those massive hand sizes with the Lost Engine, with flower selecting, Colrus, concealed cards. And at this stage, we'll be able to get to 7 in the Lost Zone, activating that Mirage Gate. There is 1 in hand. 1 got put into the Lost Zone earlier. But do you really want to be attacking with Giratina V-Star at this stage? Because you can't use Star Requiem. You don't have the maximum belt to be able to take those large knockouts. So the Giratina V is vulnerable to be attacking into that Charizard, and the Pidgeot EX has already taken some damage, so you don't need it for that.
Yep, a couple of options. I mean, could utilize the Cramorant to start softening up that active Charizard EX before anything like a Giratina V-Star can come swinging with a Lost Impact, but is a counter catcher here. Again, starting to identify that weakened Pidgeot EX, removing it from play into the discard pile just through an easy attack. because it's already taken 180 damage from that Prism Edge attack. It's got 100 HP left, and what sort of feasts on anything that has 110 HP and lower? That Cramorant just sat on the bench.
Perfect timing for it. Isaiah has restabilized wonderfully here, and that softening up of the Pidgeot EX with the Iron Leaves may be more valuable than expected, as the Cramorant is in range, and that will disrupt Tord's ability to continue getting the cards of choice out of the deck.
Yeah, the concern from Isaiah here will likely need to try and get a Giratina V onto the board as well, trying to give a bit above a buffer, because right now it's just that damaged Giratina V up there. So maybe I didn't quite see, and maybe saw incorrectly that there was a stadium bounce, so there's no opportunity to put another Giratina V down, and it does leave a damaged one that's easy to be targeted if Tord can either search, well, wouldn't be able to necessarily search because that Pidgeot EX is going down, but draw into something like that boss's orders.
There we go. Despite the early acceleration into the game, Tord going ahead with those two prizes. It has been leveled up here by Isaiah, knocking out the Pidgeot EX. And there we have the free retreating Cleffa straight into the active.
And I think I've caught a glimpse of that Prime Catcher, that wonderful ace-spec card that we've seen included in so many decks across this weekend. Just in hand. I mean, we've already mentioned how great that pivot is. Even without the Pidgeot EX, having another one on the board available just means that Tord can take his moment to really think about how best to utilize his turn. As we do see the Super Rod coming down as well. Looks like he's putting back the Luminium V and a couple of energies that I said was already stuck on that Pidgeot EX.
Yeah, meanwhile, that Forest Seal Stone that was utilized earlier on by Isaiah, despite being great to set up early, it does take away one of your best options to knock out the Charizard EX, that Star Requiem. So from Tord's point of view, he knows that knocking out the Giratina V takes it out of range of being able to take a big knockout with the Lost Impact, forces something like the Iron Leaves into play, and if that takes a knockout on the Charizard EX, just send the next one up and finish it off. And so this mapping here from Tord will just go 2-2-2 and finish off the game, and if not, Isaiah has a lot of work to be done with those single prizes.
Yeah, that's exactly what Tord was able to give us a little bit insight in his thinking earlier before, as we caught up with him, where every time Isaiah would want to try and take a big knockout, there's going to be a two-prizer on the board somewhere for me to start swinging back as well. And especially with Isaiah already taking some prizes, we do see the Prime Catch here on that damaged Giratina V. This is going to be another big, massive two prizes taken here from Tord. There's the Jirachi coming down as well, offering further protection for his board and disruption. Everything coming on here together.
That Prime Catcher so key. Without the Pidgeot EX, wasn't able to tutor it out, but had it in hand, ready to go. And you see how powerful it is. The debate between Maximum Belt and Prime Catcher in the Charizard EX list, it does reduce your potential for early knockouts on the small EXs and the final knockouts on opposing Charizard EX. But that Prime Catcher turn plus Iono can be so dangerous in these big moments. And this is exactly why Tord will be going down to 2 prize cards remaining, whilst Isaiah has nothing ready to return knockout on his side.
Burning Darkness now for 240 damage. 2 prizes taken from Isaiah's board state, increases the damage output of the base 180 by further 30 damage for each prize taken. So 240 right now is the base damage. Those Giratina Vs, if they ever do come back down onto the board, are going to be in trouble.
Well, Charizard EX in the active spot. Try and knock that out. You've got another one to come forward. Try and disrupt. You've got a Barrel on the bench. You want to try and use Sableye?
Protection already there.
So everything now Tord set up to finish off this game. Isaiah knows plenty of time, so can just work out a potential route to victory, looking to navigate through these final turns. Just checking that discard pile. And I mean, at this stage of the tournament, these players tend to have a pretty good grasp of the opponent's list, especially as both of these have featured on the stream before. So they'll be coming in with pretty good knowledge of what to expect. And throughout the tournament, that's one of those key aspects. Playing out that first game to kind of see the game plan, see what strategies they might be using, see the cards they've got available. Great way to get knowledge. And Isaiah just trying to build up that loss count a little bit more and see what's possible.
Yeah, just that flower selecting there. Looks like it was the option between the Ultra Ball, the one-off copy that we don't usually see too much in Lost Zone Giratina V-Star decks, but utilized because he also plays the Banette EX as an option, as well as we now see the concealed cards here, just tilted across with that Psychic Energy pitched away, Chorus's experiment found, but do we have enough time here? If he benches a Pokemon V that is right now very susceptible to a big Burning Darkness attack and can quite easily give Tord the final 2 prizes he needs to take this game 1.
Well, slow start shows exactly why that can be a challenge for any player. And Tord really set up, I would say, perfectly this game. It felt like he got everything he needed in those turns, and going to be using that Cramorant to attack into the Bibarel. And
leaving it with 10 HP remaining. All Azea can do right now, not giving Tord the opportunity to win on this turn, of course, because only will be able to take out a single prizer. Tord just playing out his hand here. Some of those tool cards, a little bit less relevant for this moment in time because there's no Vs around. As we do see an Arven being played here. Such a commanding position. Board state pretty much ready for anything that can come his way.
I think we got to take a moment here to appreciate that Tord beat a Snorlax deck in the quarterfinal, and the reason being he's built his deck around taking those liabilities out of the active spot with those Professor Turo scenarios.
Yeah, it was more Pidgeot control, if I recall correctly, but obviously utilizes Snorlax's block as well. But yes, it's one of the most scary things to be facing up against when you're a Charizard EX player, or even a Chen Hao player, for example. Just being able to be stopped in terms of any way or trying to build your board state, bringing up some of those really, really annoying Pokemon like the Cleffa, and won't be able to do too much. But, you know, this is why he's been able to build his deck in a particular way, putting a lot of respect on this control archetype as it's just to pass over after the Industrious Incisors, I believe.
Yeah, no need to rush at this stage. You got a little bit of a lead here, Tord, so you don't need to rush into anything. But Azea trying to navigate an alternative win condition. And again, it's something we see our top players doing here at EUIC. When the game appears to be lost, they find a way through those final turns to navigate an unusual win condition and really try and find the best solution. And a lot of the time it can be stuff like putting something in the active and just passing so they deck out. You know, crazier things have been seen. And at this stage, Azea trying to find some ways to beat this deck out.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen these types of decks, these Lost Zone engine decks, trying to utilize things like Sableye, typically when the later game stages are sort of formed and you hit that 10 in the Lost Zone, which this Chorus experiment will put Azea up to, but Tord sort of read what was coming along, that Jirachi hitting that field on the previous turn really stops all of that kind of potential comeback chances there for Azea. But, you know, I'm not the one in this driving seat right now. I'm sure he's got a bit of an idea of how he could try and turn this game around, as it is just a pass for the time being. We do see another Arven coming down for that Ultra Ball, maybe trying to thin out the hand to start reaching towards those Professor Churro scenarios as soon as possible. Has that great unique inclusion as well for some of those control archetypes. That Team Yell's Cheer also in hand, so can continue to chain them, and that's exactly what you would try and do with this deck against such a typically bad matchup.
Yeah, with Charizard, they've had Switch Card included in the past, the Professor Turo scenario. Meanwhile, Tord has 2 Professor Turo scenario, the Team Yell Cheer, so effectively can play 4 Professor Turo scenario throughout a game. But equally, sometimes the win condition that you play towards the end of the game when you feel like you're out would be maybe that one important card is prized. And that can often be enough. You know, there is a way to win if a certain card is left in the prize cards. And so we might see a little bit of passing back and forth here until Tord finds his way out of this, the barrel lock in the active.
Yeah, the direction here is that now Azea has to try and maybe set up an attacker as a potential option as well. He's gained a couple of turns here with that barrel trapped in the active spot. It's all about thinking about whether maybe, as you've already highlighted, maybe that Professor Churro scenario is prized, maybe one of those is prized, and maybe he only has access to one. And maybe a further gusting up of it once again could potentially deck out Tord, for example. You have to play to all of these small percentages, and that's what we're seeing here as well.
Yeah, maybe gust up the Jirachi, knock that out, and then find a way to lock Tord for a few more turns, and then set up a Charizard. There is ways here, but you're asking a lot to have the time to be able to do that. And that's part of these win conditions, is you're not expecting to win, but you know there is a way to win. So you're going to give it a good go and see if you can find out if it's possible.
some really tough choices here. A couple of super rods, it looked like, in that hand there, as we do see the poker gear, that one-off copy, opportunity to try and search out, because you typically early on want to be chaining those Chorus's experiments as much as you can, which unfortunately Isaiah was not able to do early on. And just kind of double checking now, it looks like that Giratina V-Star is also there as well.
Roxanne.
Yeah, just
only the one Roxanne in the deck.
So if he can combine a potential knockout with, on this big barrel with the Roxanne, does limit what Tord has outs to. It becomes a really, really tricky scenario here. Isaiah playing it through in his mind every single step possible.
There's a lot of tension in here as we watch to see if Isaiah can find a way. And I think it's just going to be a pass there, hoping to gain one more turn. Try and find a route to victory. And it's just a pass back, that hand clogged up, no barrel. So Isaiah looking to try and find those cards. It's going to be passes back and forth quickly between the players as we accelerate towards a potential win condition for either player.
Is this it? Is this one opportunity for you? But Tord does have that Team Yells chair. He isn't to know that. He's playing to every out possible. It's back and forth. Finally hit a card he's wanted. There it is, Professor Churro's scenario. This is an opportunity now for Tord to now just start wrangling it back into his control, despite having that barrel trap for so long.
But the problem is, you bring that barrel back up, you then don't have a barrel in play to utilize. And so that's where that Roxanne could come in so effective in the next turn. There will be the Charizard to be able to promote to the active and be able to take an attack. But can Tord set up the board in a way that he's protected from these end turns?
Just playing out some of those cards, maybe using that Buddy Poffin just to get it out of hand, knowing maybe that Roxanne's coming. He will go down to one prize though, and it's only just, that's all he needs to really think about. If he takes this knockout, goes down to one prize, all he needs to be able to find one piece of the puzzle to take the final prize, to take game one. But Isaiah here, you know, forcing that barrel pickup with the Professor Churro's scenario, Roxanne now will impact Tord quite a bit.
So just getting that energy back. I think the only liability on board for Tord is the Jirachi. If that comes into the active, it has a 1 retreat cost. Otherwise, the Charizard can attack, and the Cleffa has a free retreat. So needs that energy back in for the Jirachi. Plays 6 energy in the list, so I think the other one must be prized. Just going to put that Bidoof back down. And now it's on Isaiah. Played for the deck out, and suddenly Tord revealed the Professor Churro scenario. Now what, Isaiah? What's your plan here? You've tried one thing. What other options do you have?
So it's really tense here. Isaiah I think he's kind of seen the writings on the wall. He tried to slow it down as much as he can, but Tord has taken game one of this EUIC Masters final here. Advantage Tord Reklev.
Well, you've got to respect Isaiah for finding that lock, finding that situation where they were both draw passing to see if he could deck out Tord Reklev, but Tord knew the whole time he had that Professor Churro scenario in deck. Isaiah, as we mentioned, he's going to be aware of the list, but he might think it could be prize, maybe because he used one already, right? So maybe it was removed from play. Who knows? The Professor Churro scenario, a key pivotal card for Tord to get out of those locks that we've seen so effective by the controlling archetypes that have been played here at EUIC. Useful in this scenario, but that Iron Leaf start got the first bit of damage on the board, and it was the Pidgeot EX that took the first attack.
It's 3 turns before we even got going here for Isaiah. But don't worry, just got to compose yourself. Look, you've spoken about some scuff games that you've had before in this matchup, specifically against Tord in Swiss, where Tord sort of took so much advantage here by that slow start. But, you know, game 2 is a new game. You're going to have to just try and utilize every piece of the puzzle in your own deck to try and bring this back round.
Well, the start couldn't have gone much worse for Isaiah with that Shuppet attached pass. This moment here, I've never seen 2 players draw pass as fast as they did, but the Professor Churro scenario was the solution for Tord Reklev in those final moments. Isaiah recognizing that, and we'll be going into game 2 now, where the advantage, like you mentioned, is going to be in Tord's favor. Plenty of time for the final to play out. A best of 3 here. Just one more game required for Tord. Meanwhile, Isaiah has to try and find 2 victories. It's going to be a tough one now after seeing how that first game went. You know, the consistency of these 2 decks is definitely more reliable in Charizard EX, where Lost Zone Giratina has historically been its own worst nightmare, as we saw in Game 1. It's now going to be on Isaiah to say, look, I have flower selecting, I have ways to switch, I have options available as they put their prize cards out. Some important prize cards there.
That Prime Catcher sat in the prizes alongside that Rotom V, not necessarily utilized in the first game, as we do kick off here our Game 2 of the Masters TCG Final. And it'll be Tord going first with that Charmander in the active spot. Isaiah there with that Radiant Greninja.
Well, Radiant Greninja, a better start than the Shuppet, I feel. But maybe in some matchups, you'd want to start with that Shuppet and try and disrupt the item cards early. But on this occasion, we'll probably be happy to get some draw going. It just depends on what the rest of that hand is, and by going second, we'll be able to utilize a Chorus Experiment in their first turn. But Tord able to set up nice and wide with another Charmander coming down, as well as that Pidgey.
Yep, I mean, we saw it in the first game. That Shuppet could have tried to disrupt for a little bit. That enveloping shadow attack requires a psychic energy, though, which Isaiah did not have in hand, just the grass and the jet energies that were available to him. But flip a coin if heads during your opponent's next turn. They can't play any item cards. That would have been one way to just slow down the game, as Isaiah was trying to draw out of it. But here, right now, this Game 2, Buddy Poffin has kicked things off for Tord. We'll be able to have double Charmander in play with that Pidgey as well. And we'll see how else he can build out the board, as Isaiah will be looking at his hand, I'm sure, thinking, it can't get any worse than what I had in Game 1, surely.
Just looking across the hall at all you lovely people with your eyes locked on the screen, wanting to see how this early setup is going to go. And Isaiah will be hoping to get that loss count nice and high.
Has concealed cards available to begin with. Grass Energy and a Nest Ball, so things can start. Does have Chorus's Experiment in hand, it looks like, as well. So, better options than Game 1. Let's see 5 cards, take 3 to your hand, 2 go to the Lost Zone.
Ooh, I mean, some important cards there. The Manaphy, a nice, easy decision. Forest Sealstone, you really want to try and keep that Star Requiem this time. The rest of those cards were mighty important in the matchup. Forest Sealstone is more of a contingency plan in this matchup, which we saw last time. So we'll be happy to get rid of that.
Yeah, a couple of more easier choices. Could have been had, but here we go. Nest Ball here, I'm sure is going to be going through that deck, figuring out what has been prized. I don't believe there was too many things there that will come as a shock for Isaiah's side. Can build out his board and starts going really wide and trying to just put those cards in the Lost Zone as soon as possible.
Yeah, I mean, the boss's orders, there's only one of those in the list, if I recall correctly, and the Burnett puppet offering would be used to recycle it, but at this stage, Chorus Experiment, the more preferred supporter, especially when you've got the Prime Catcher available for gusting if you need it, and Counter Catcher if you get behind. Just going to be checking those energy cards there, making sure they're all about. And as mentioned, those flower selecting Comfeys are key in these early turns. So wanting to try and chain as many of those as possible.
Yeah, we know how important resource management is in our Pokemon trading card game. And this is just one of those first early ways to try and figure out exactly what you have access to, what you will be able to build your board state to, having already, for example, lost zoned a couple of pieces. Sometimes those lost zones can be tricky if you don't know what's going on in your deck. And this is why it's so vital. And this is why Isaiah is also one of those players who does take notes as well. And here we do see the Giratina V can maybe start to try and utilize that Abyss Seeking to kind of burst into the 10 as soon as possible. A further 2 could go in. Maybe doesn't need to necessarily go for the Comfeys, if not available to him.
Yeah, only the Nest Ball available. If there was a Buddy Poffin, it would have been a slightly different scenario. But the Giratina V with the Abyss Seeking has been a big factor in this matchup, even in the pre-rotation format, just because the Giratina V is out of range of that first Charizard EX attack when no prize cards have been taken. Only 180 damage. No matter the damage modifier, that Giratina V can survive, so it is safe in the active spot after using Abyss Seeking. So the Jet Energy to move it to the active, Abyss Seeking, and a much more solid start here for Isaiah Bradner.
Yeah, can just have this scenario, be quite comfortable with this board state to begin with. You know, typically we'd have some comp phase down, but might not be as necessary when you just don't have the cards available to yourself, as you will be going up to 4 in the Lost Zone. That Cramorant as well, used as a easy, efficient attacker. Doesn't want to start taking prizes, start putting himself in range of the Burning Darkness attack with a damage modifier as well. So just knowing he's safe from any sort of big knockouts on his Giratina V, and Abyss Seeking, putting some of those less useful cards into the Lost Zone there.
Ooh, Rare Candy, Pidgeot EX, a nice way to kick things off here. Find any important card you need, and for the rest of that hand, well, there's a Charmeleon. That's a good little start, and the disruption plus a little bit of an attack at this stage after that large hand was gathered for Isaiah could be a great way to kick things off.
Yeah, could start to chip away as well at that Giratina V if he chooses to do so. We've already seen Tord heat tackle his way through some big Pokemon, but just trying to figure out what was available. There was that Clefairy in hand, so could have taken a bit of a slower approach if he wanted to do so. The hand there has Ultra Ball, has a way to quick search for the Rare Candy as well. Buddy Poffin also trying to grab maybe the Bidoof out. We saw how vital that piece of the puzzle was in your game plan toward Reklev. So let's see the first Buddy Poffin here from the hand being utilized. That Bidoof maneuver to the front of that deck very quickly.
And the Jirachi too. I mean, you mentioned the Clefairy. Without the Jirachi in play, it's just an easy part of a Sableye attack. That Lost Mine sprinkling 12 damage counters into play, but with the Jirachi on the bench, only the active is a target for the Sableye, so a great way to reduce the damage output of the Lost Mine. Can't take multiple prize cards with it in one turn, so Jirachi, a key part of this matchup.
Quick search being activated now. Again, a fantastic ability. We've spoken about it a lot throughout this weekend. Excuse me, so just being able to choose any card you'd like for the matchups that you're facing up against. Such a key component for this deck. We've had discussions amongst us, amongst the crowds, amongst online about which engine is best of a partner for Charizard. Well, how about both?
Seems to be the key, especially when you're in a deck that doesn't want to be taking one prize card at a time. You want to be taking those 2 prize knockouts. If the Barrel is there as a backup option, can protect you after, say, something like a Roxanne, which has been a game-swinging card throughout the tournament. So Tord stabilized similarly to the first game, but rather than opting to attack with the Charizard this time, well, first time was Pidgeot EX, but rather than choose to attack with a 2-prize Pokemon, we'll be looking to use that Heat Tackle Charmander in the active.
Yeah, just for the moment, knowing Isaiah is not able to really disrupt Tord's hand, he's just kind of targeted a particular Pokemon, which was the Barrel from that quick search, just readying it for future turns, and then has to kind of react then on how Isaiah is able to play out his turn.
Well, similarly to the last game, that Ino was played against Isaiah when Isaiah had just used Abyss Seeking and the Chorus Experiment, so choosing the best cards out of all of that draw support. With the Ino, it will disrupt it, reduce that hand size, reshift what resources are available, so Isaiah now having to rebuild that up, find those combo pieces to get an early knockout potentially, and that Chorus Experiment, finding some good cards, but not those ones to develop what they're trying to achieve here, which is that Lost Zone count going up.
Yeah, all really good cards at different stages of a game or of a matchup. That Temple Sinnoh could be a great way to bump away a collapsed stadium, to give himself space to go wide. The Grass Energy, of course, plays multiple copies of, so can sometimes be an easy choice. Already knows how many Grass Energies are in deck from his deck search earlier in this game, as we do see the Comfort hitting the board, and a Jet Energy to push it into the active spot as well. When you attach it from your hand, you may maneuver the Pokemon you attach it to the active spot. We do see the first flower selecting of our game 2 now.
And that Lost Zone count will be going up to 7. There are 3 big landmarks for the Lost Zone count. You've got 4, which will allow you to attack with the Cramorant, which we see on the bench. 7, you can start using a Mirage Gate to accelerate energy into play. And then 10, to activate that Star Requiem, the V-Star attack of Giratina, as well as utilizing Sableye Lost Mine. So hitting the second landmark will open up energy acceleration at this stage, and now Tord will have to play around that.
Yeah, this nest ball now being utilized here. We'll try and maybe set up some additional Giratina Vs. Typically, you'd want more than just the one. If you're going to start swinging at some point, you're going to need at least a couple of them ready to go so that you can start chaining attacks of your own. Especially if that Charizard is going to have to ramp up his own damage by losing some of the prizes. As towards right now, just kind of factoring that in. Having this Charmander just deal some chip damage away. And if it does get knocked out, those Giratina Vs do start to become within range with a damage modifier in towards deck.
Yeah, 30 damage on that Giratina V. Every prize card does another 30 damage for Tord using that Charizard EX. And then you mentioned the Defiance Band. Great tool card to increase that damage output, especially without the maximum belt, which we've seen featured in a lot of the Charizard EX list. Does need to find a way to put more damage onto opposing EXs. And that seemed to be the option there. Isaiah in a much more commanding position this time, able to set up. And I feel like, as far as setups go, both of these players will be happy with the way these early turns have gone. And so we'll be seeing the true form of how this matchup's meant to go.
Yeah, it's a bit of a throwback to pre-rotation, prior to this European International Championships here, where we had both of these decks flying high in the meta as well, really taking down a lot of tournaments, a lot of games. And we do see the prime catcher of his own here with that Giratina V-Star now evolved up with that 30 damage that has taken from the Heat Tackle, targeting down towards support Pokemon. Here we go, first couple of prizes. Looks like it's going to be taken with that Lost Impact, 280 damage to knock it out.
Pidgeot EX has been taken out of play with the first knockout from Isaiah Bradner. Advantage to Isaiah now as Tord has limited ability to set up now with the perfect card. He has the barrel available, Ultra Ball available too. Can he get everything needed now to set up the Charizard?
I mean, a great read by Tord to also pick out that barrel from the last turn with a quick search as well, knowing that it is a bit of a target if Isaiah could hit the 7 in the Lost Zone. Now should have, I believe, the 9 in the Lost Zone with the Lost Impact as well. 2 further energies hitting that Lost Zone area. Just one more flower selecting away potentially from then being able to utilize Star Requiem as soon as possible. And then it's just something like an Iron Leaves EX away. If the energy's on the board, that could be one direction Isaiah could take to take the final 2 and 4 prizes.
Well, with Giratina V-Star having the 30 damage on it, it needs to be knocked out with a Charizard EX, but it also needs the Defiance Band to be in range, or a Choice Belt.
Yep, the Choice Belt also allowing you to do 30 more damage to your opponent's active Pokemon V, a card we've been seeing a lot less recently, just out of the formats going towards a heavier Pokemon EX formats right now. So we do see the energy attachment to the Charmander in the active spot as well. Just kind of double checking what's available. It looks like an Iono and a Fire Energy. Just deciding not to go for that route.
With one in hand, I think he wants to try and play that second energy onto the Charmander from hand, but is he going to try and draw with that barrel to find the Choice Belt or the Defiance Band? Is that the plan here from Tord, or is he going to try and use the Heat Tackle to set up the Giratina V-Star? I mean, there's a lot on the line. Maybe even something like the Prime Catcher could come along to knock out the Giratina V on the bench, but that's prized.
Yeah, I think it's down to likely to try and target down that Giratina V-Star at first possibility, at first opportunity to be able to do so. Big 4 cards here from Tord. Here we go.
1, 2, 3, 4. What's it going to be? Boss's Orders, Charmander, Nest Ball, and a Radiant Charizard, so won't be able to knock out the active Giratina V-Star at this stage.
Not quite yet. Still the opportunity to do so. I believe that the supporter hasn't been played. Or could start to try and target down the Giratina V on the bench as well.
That's an option, yeah. Can get a 2-prize knockout here, but if we have a back and forth 2-2-2 race, it will go in favor of Isaiah unless Tord can successfully set up a 1-prize board state at the end with the Radiant Charizard. But I think both decks are very good at setting up a one prize board state, especially now that Iron Leaves can be utilized in the end game as a sudden burst damage out for the Charizard EX.
Still needs the energy as well, though. So if there's a way to just consistently disrupt Isaiah's hand and board state where possible, maybe removing those energies from play. Of course, right now, Isaiah is board locked, is what we called it. When
Choice Belt!
Choice Belt hit from the Iono. Massive, as Isaiah has been taking his notes just to kind of confirm what's going to the bottom of the deck. But a massive pickup here, as Tord will be leveling up the prize race here with that Charizard EX Burning Darkness attack. Currently dealing 240 damage plus the 30 from the Choice Belt. 270 damage here.
Well, you seldom see a turn like that after a Pidgeot EX is taken out of play, but with Tord having that backup of the barrel, drew plenty of cards pre-Iono, and then as soon as they got those fresh 6, it was pretty likely to see the Choice Belt or the Defiance Band going through so much of that deck.
You're seeing 10 cards pretty much when you're playing down your hand for that Industrious Incisors draw, and then the Iono, whilst also disrupting your opponent, removing a grass energy from play as well. So no easy attacker for Isaiah going forward right now with this knockout. And there it is, announcement, Burning Darkness KO, 4 prizes remaining for both of our players here in this Masters final. That Prime Catcher still stuck in those prizes for the moment, though.
Yeah, it's also fair to note that the Charizard EX that's in the active spot was the one that evolved through the Charmeleon. So if Tord were to try and set up another Charizard, it would have to be the combination pieces of Rare Candy and Charizard EX. And with one of the Charizard EX in the prize card, you know, we're expecting a lot of fortunate turns here for Tord if he is to set up a following attacker. But I mean, the Radiant Charizard is an option with just the 1 energy required to navigate these final turns. That should be intriguing.
Double checking what's been put down to the bottom of the deck as he does Flower Select first. A couple of options there. I think he did hit a Mirage Gate into hand from the Iono as well. It's just what pieces of the puzzle are you able to conjure up here? Is there another grass energy hitting the Lost Zone?
Well, that Poker Gear will be able to find a supporter. The question is, will he try and shuffle the deck first? No, recognizing that the cards put to the bottom from the Iono were not the cards he wants at this stage. So we'll be able to look through those. Any supporter there? No supporter.
Big miss. So we'll highlight the 2 grass energies in the Lost Zone right now. 1 gone to the discard as well, following that knockout of that Giratina V-Star. Just the 4 copies of grass energy. Needs both of them for that Prism Edge attack of Iron Leaves EX.
Well, still has the Star Requiem available, but that requires a grass energy too.
1.
So there's a lot of juggling of the grass energy. It's a tough decision now which way you go with the knockout here. If you can get the Star Requiem, that's the dream. But we mentioned how important that disruption was. The Iono to 4 against a Lost Engine does reduce that hand size, does reduce the options available. So Isaiah now has a lot to do to get back into this attacking position.
Does also have to try and protect that Giratina V as well. Right now with just 220 HP is susceptible to a very simple knockout from a Charizard EX.
Well, V-Star required. Yeah, the V-Star really an important card to find at this stage. One of the hardest cards to find in the Giratina list typically, as many of the lists don't even play any Bull Search for it.
No, just looking for natural draw, but like we said, he does play that one-off Ultra Ball. But real struggle here as we send up the other Comfey now. Another Flower Selecting.
What you got there off that Flower Selecting, I mean, no instant decision. Typically, if there's something you're looking for and you see it off of a Flower Selecting, it goes straight to the hand. But Isaiah just taking the due diligence here, making sure it's exactly the right decision. No mistakes in this grand final. And what have we got?
Smaller hand following that Iono as well. Seeing pieces, that switch is currently being decided on. It hits the Lost Zone there. We've increased to 11, so we're beyond that threshold of 10. Another Jet Energy being utilized for concealed cards, not your usual Colress Experiment and Ultra Ball.
Oh, wow, perfect timing there. as we need that Ultra Ball for the Giratina V-Star. The Chorus Experiment, huge now to keep going through that deck, thinning out some of those less useful cards. And it's just down to Isaiah whether they Ultra Ball first, which they will be, to try and get that Giratina V-Star, or whether they wait till afterwards. But they are now able to take a knockout if they're able to get the Giratina V-Star into the active spot. And that Chorus Experiment further improving this turn. It just shows you how much dig there is with the Flower selecting the concealed cards, and that's exactly why the Radiant Greninja is in here despite no water energy.
I'm hoping everyone here watching on the stream, in this venue, following along as well, does have Counter Catcher in hand, maybe for future turns if necessary. It doesn't seem like it's going to be a playable card, but I believe there may have been 3 Mirage Gates across the game, across the boards that have been utilized already. 1 in the Lost Zone, has been using 1 for this Giratina V on the bench, and then 1 for the previous one. So there's only 1 remaining to just burst energy onto the board state.
Iron Leaves in that Chorus, I think.
And the Super Rod's got to be pretty vital here.
You're going to be getting rid of a Chorus Experiment, potentially here. That's when you know you're seeing lots of valuable cards, when you're removing such a powerful supporter. Likely on the future turns wanting to utilize that Roxanne rather than a Chorus Experiment if possible. There we go, Giratina V-Star in play. Star Requiem is possible to use as the Lost Zone count is above 10. The Charizard EX in the active spot will be knocked out.
Has already Lost Zone that switch, so giving the tell that there is a way to maneuver out of that comfy in the active spot.
Let's hope so, because I mean, that's the only piece missing, and I haven't quite seen the hand, whether that's possible.
Maybe not, but can wait a turn. I mean, losing 1 prize here isn't too much of a problem. Getting chip damage on that Giratina V-Star.
We haven't seen an energy attachment, but we have seen a retreat, so. There
we go, there's a psychic energy attached. Quite a big decision here. Now 3 energies just to pass over to Tord Reklev. Initiative on you, Tord, how you will play out this turn. Rare Candy in hand, Charmander pick up from the top deck. Has Boss's orders, I believe. He's just moved to the front of his hand.
A key factor here is the Choice Belt was the tool card utilized by the Charizard EX to take the knockout on the Giratina V-Star. Can be used in combination with that Radiant Charizard to guarantee 280 damage onto a Giratina V-Star. But now, the only way that Radiant Charizard can hit for 280 is by utilizing a Defiance Band, which requires the prize cards to be higher for Tord than Isaiah. And there we go. The Boss's order is going to be taken to the active, getting some damage. It's not enough to knock out, but it puts it in range of something like that Charmander with the Heat Tackle.
Yeah, 270 damage here. 240 from the Burning Darkness attack. The Choice Belt increasing it to 270. 10 HP remaining on this Giratina V-Star. I mean, this is one way to get your Pokemon that you want to be utilizing to switch into the active spot, but ideally wouldn't have wanted to see that many damage counters on it.
Yeah, Tord just said, Isaiah, you wanted that Giratina V-Star in the active? I can help you out, as that has now got 10 HP remaining. I mean, there's some attackers in Tord's list that could probably knock this out that I've never seen attack. Can the Pidgey knock it out? I mean...
Yeah, it's got that tackle for 20. Does need 2 energies, though. Not ideal. Wouldn't be the most efficient attacker. I think the Heat Tackle is probably the most utilized here for just that 1 fire energy, 30 damage.
The reason why it's been popularized as the more utilized Charmander across the Charizard EX that we've seen. Now Isaiah has to navigate what we're seeing here. The Shuppet being put down will allow him to chain supporters like the Roxanne in those final turns.
Yeah, if he's able to pull it out of the prizes, I believe, still.
Boss's orders in the... Oh, yeah, the puppet offerings in the prizes.
But, you know, it's filling the deck, but it's also getting a potentially very useful card onto the board. Say, as Star Requiem has activated their V-Star ability, an instant knockout once you're able to get 10 cards into the Lost Zones. Has missed that puppet offering Burnett, so won't be able to utilize that as a way of maybe safeguarding yourself away from something like a Disruption supporter. But it's on Tord now. We do see that Heat Tackle Charmander in the active spot. It's going to be over KOing this Giratina V-Star if he uses Heat Tackle.
Yeah, when we caught up with him before the match, he was very particular about this situation now. He said, I can take those knockouts and set up to use that Radiant Charizard in the final moments. And by leaving just one prizes in play, the power output of Isaiah's list with the Iron Leaves and the Giratina V-Star won't be able to knock out anything there for 2 prizes. And with Jirachi on board, Sableye also not an option, so Tord trying to set up a 1-prize endgame.
Possibly here, you'd want to be attacking with your Radiant Charizard. It's big enough of a Pokemon with HP to be out of range of that Cramorant to force a 1 single prizer. That means Isaiah would then have to put a 2 prizer to try and knock it out or find a way to gust around it. But that's one way for Tord to maybe mitigate losing a prize to Isaiah and just allowing Isaiah to go down to 1 prize.
I mean, there's also just the combination of putting a big Charizard EX into the active and disrupting in that final turn. That's another key aspect of this matchup. Many people forget how powerful disruption in combination with a 330 HP active Pokemon can be.
Yeah, you're right, but you just have to be fearful that Iron Leaves EX, Mike. It's hiding around somewhere. Super Rods are still on the deck. Those grass energies may be out on the field that Tord can see, but Super Rod can replenish those, and Mirage Gate can quickly put them onto the board, an energy attachment from hand, and then Iron Leaves can come in with that Rapid Vernier and just take a big swing knockout.
I mean, what you've just described is a lot of pieces
It is
in
a lot
combination.
of pieces.
So that would be asking a lot. Isaiah now having to work with small hand sizes after the Ionos of both turn. Now the Charmander is going to be taking the knockout. This Charmander was MVP in Tord's semi-final match as it knocked out an opposing Charizard EX. And it looks like it's poised and ready to take down the Giratina V-Star. The little Charmander that could is ready to heat tackle, whereas Isaiah is waiting with not many options available after that collapsed stadium, removing a Comfey.
Barrel, Industrious Incisors, getting that back online once again. Just allows you to get your board state ready. Pidgeot and Arven ready for future turns as well. Does have the energy for the Radiant Charizard. He's gone for the play that I've mentioned. Combustion Blast live with that Excited Heart ability. Able to take a massive knockout now that Isaiah has taken 4 prizes. 160 HP behemoth, as it were.
The little Charmander that could. Taking a back seat. Let the shiny Charizard do the work for a moment there. But the other bit of Combustion Blast is important to note here. Cannot attack during your next turn. Has a 3 retreat cost. So now it's in the active. It does create some issues for Tord potentially about chaining attacks.
But sometimes you could just wait. Because it's only single prizes on the board. Isaiah is unable to take the knockout on a Radiant Charizard without a bigger attacker. And it still gives Tord another chance to just draw into the Professor Churro scenario, reset it if necessary, or just swing again on 1 more turn.
Especially when Isaiah's playing with so few cards. Gonna have to try and find a way around this situation, despite having limited resources. You can see how much he's trying to think through this situation. The most pressure he's felt in a Pokemon TCG game to try and take down that final boss in Tord Reklev. Limited resources, limited time, and we'll be using those flower selecting to try and find that much needed resource in these final moments of game 2.
One of those cards we lost to rotation, Escape Rope would be incredible here, but even that Barrel could tank a hit, as we saw in game 1 as well, 120 HP, so one of those cards we miss, as we do see a switch here into the Cramorant. Looks like it's likely to just be a swing. There's that Banette EX in hand as well.
I mean, it's with the Cramorant, it's so tough because it's a water-type Pokemon taking a swing with 110 damage into a fire-type Pokemon that's weak to water, but Spit Innocently isn't affected by weakness, so it will just do 110 there into the Radiant Charizard, which is recharging from using that Combustion Blast in last turn. Cannot attack during this turn. Now Tord has to try and find a way to re-establish everything, and found that rare candy, I believe, off the top deck.
There's the Pidgeot there. Has Prime Catcher to maneuver around as well, so can continue swinging, but has now put a 2-prizer in play. Not anything to worry about, no Giratina around, so plenty of HP to just tank a hit if necessary.
So I believe the Prime Catcher was off the prize cards. We have the rare candy off the top deck, finding everything needed now. Can even find anything off of that quick search. Could disrupt again if wanted. Tord is in prime position here to take down this destabilized board state of Isaiah. Isaiah got the Iron Leaves available if wanted to try and knock out a Charizard EX, but Tord said, if I don't put a Charizard EX in play, that's not going to work. So final stages here, setting up a barrel. Pidgeot EX available, has that Charizard EX available for next turn, but I doubt he's going to want to put it into play.
Not yet. Holding on to it, I'm sure. But remember that quick search allows him to also utilize Professor Churo's scenario once again, if necessary, if it doesn't get knocked out by this Cramorant. That Jirachi causing chaos as well, so Sableye never a utilized attacker in this scenario. Quick search here. Grab any card you want from your deck. How do you want to telepath the next turn? Super Rod, it looks like going down as an option. So many different options available for Tord, Reklev. Last couple of turns, I'm getting to that moment there, Super Rod being played.
Actually got the Professor Turo scenario off the prize cards alongside that Prime Catcher, and this Super Rod just going to get back all those important options in the final turns, especially as there's only 6 Fire Energy in the list.
Yeah, really important to grab that Luminion ready as well, as we do see the Arven come down now, following that rare candy into the Pidgeot EX, quick search utilized, and then that Arven just to grab any pieces he wants. Options to get that Forest Sealstone and Luminion at some stage. Defiance Band also available, even just to use it as discard fodder if necessary.
I don't think you can take...
not both yet.
I don't think you can take those
there
two.
There's the Ultra Ball.
Yeah, just both players there, keeping each other in check. Just gathering all the tools to the front of the deck there for the Arven. The Ultra Ball here, probably just to thin cards that aren't needed.
Just to have that option of that Luminion V on the next turn with the Forest Sealstone in combination. Tord Reklev playing out potentially his penultimate turn here to wrestle away and take away another IC from anyone else but himself and try and push himself into a 5-time international champion accolade.
Well, who better than Tord Reklev to show us exactly how Charizard EX should be played. The most popular deck in post-rotation. We always know Tord can cook the mightiest lists of the decks we expect to see do well, and he's attempting to do it once again here. It was at LAIC with the return of his title. Lugia V-Star came into the game, and he showed exactly how it should be played. A few different cards to the rest of the field was enough to take him to that victory. He's going to try and do the same thing again here with Charizard EX. Isaiah, so much to do on this turn. No liabilities on Tord's board that can be knocked out for 2 prize cards. What can you do here, Isaiah?
There's a Super Rod being eyed up here. Does have to get those energies at some point back into the deck as an opportunity to use as an attacker here. That Combustion Blast, unable to be utilized once again, of course. But with quick search as an out, maybe has access to that Professor Churo scenario. Be reset very quickly.
Do you attack with the Iron Leaf still and just try and disrupt and hope that the Charizard EX pieces aren't available?
I mean, we've spoken about it. You still need so many pieces just to kind of weave in an attack from the Iron Leaves EX. As we do see a Flower selecting, look at the top 2 cards, put one into your hand, one into the Lost Zone. Psychic Energy, Decision there. What was that card, Isaiah? Do you have a chance? There's a concealed cards of that Grass Energy goes, Boss's Orders.
Oh, Roxanne.
Roxanne. There's a chance. Is there a world? Giratina V hits the board. We're at the point now. Anything could be knocked out so that Giratina V can come down. Roxanne, shuffle your hand in. Draw 6. Tord Reklev, shuffle your hand in. Draw 2.
The Bibarel and Pidgeot EX are in play. You have 2 cards that are allowed to get you out of this Roxanne situation. You can draw up to 5 with the Bibarel, find any card you need with the Pidgeot EX. So, yes, it might seem like there's a lot of combo pieces needed here for Tord with that rare candy and a Charizard EX, but at any moment you can find one of those pieces from the Bibarel and find the other one with the Pidgeot EX. So now Tord will be disrupted, and Isaiah will need to find a knockout this turn without leaving any liabilities in that active spot.
Cleffer and Buddy Poffin in Tord's hand. Mirage Gate there with a Super Rod as well, so that's a couple of pieces. And the switch. But what else can you weave in here? What is available for yourself?
You can get a knockout with the Cramorant and just hope that the disruption is enough. That's asking a lot. Maybe that's all Isaiah can do at this stage.
Has the Nest Ball as well. So even if he was to target a Pokemon, that Rapid Vernier would not be able to be utilized because you have to play it by hand. But even with something like the Mirage Gate, you still need a Grass Energy either on the board or in hand to be able to attach as well. So Super Rod is utilized here.
You don't necessarily need to use the Iron Leaves now. The Shred of Giratina V would be enough to knock out the active and would put Giratina V into a strong position to be potentially out of range. But I think a lot of Isaiah's plan is just hoping that that Roxanne has done enough. There is a world where, as you draw with that Bibarel, you find none of the combo pieces needed to evolve that Charmander up.
Right, you need 2 pieces to evolve it up. That Rare Candy and a Charizard. Bibarel will do its best to try and get there. Can play his hand down as well once a Pokemon is knocked out. Because the Clefairy can hit the board. Well, the Poffin could be played first, of course, and then the Clefairy can hit the board. And then it's a fresh draw of at least 4.
Well, I think
I'm going to ask all the questions here, I think.
Exactly. I think at this stage we are going to be seeing that Cramorant attack. And Isaiah will just be relying quite heavily here on that Roxanne. It's been the MVP for so many people throughout the tournament. We mentioned how powerful a card it was for Tord during the semi-final. And that just begins to scratch the surface of how much Roxanne has done in this tournament. So now Isaiah, one last time, will be crossing his fingers for that Roxanne, hoping it does enough. The knockout, 1 prize card remaining each. Can Tord find the knockout this turn off of this draw? Bibarel there, there's an energy.
That's fine, attachment to the Charmander, if he can evolve up, of course.
So many cards in there, you don't want to draw off the Bibarel.
Yeah, you don't want to be putting a card down here because you want to be maybe putting down that Clefairy just to make sure that hand draw is as high as possible.
Lots of outs, things like the Luminion are an option too.
2 rare candies, I see. Ultra Ball for the Charizard EX as well. Fire Energy to bring that hand down. We'll be seeing a fresh 5. If he just benches that Clefairy and an attachment.
Could have put the Buddy Poffin Pokemon down, but doesn't want to because he needs to leave that space for the hand, or whether he wants to leave the space for the Luminion as well as an option. Lots to think about here for Tord to optimize this end game draw after the Roxanne.
It's great to see both players still enjoying it. I think Isaiah didn't want to be the one to cut it. Didn't want to give up his fates by cutting it here for Tord, as we do see the energy attachment there. The barrel for 5.
Before, I think, left the Clefairy in hand. What have you got here?
Charizard EX in hand. One more piece of the puzzle.
And that's going to be it. The rare candy from the Pidgeot EX will find the evolution needed. Charizard EX, the knockout. Tord Reklev is your European International Champion, 5-time International Champion, and the greatest player of the modern era.
From finalists of 2023 to champion of 2024. What a story. Tord Reklev, congratulations. You are the Masters TCG champion.